us. Didn't even get to cross.
What's going on YouTube? It's your boy DMD, and today I'm coming at you guys with some live footage of a match that my buddy Andrew and I played at Locals a few days ago. So the fun thing about this matchup is that it actually isn't just any match. We actually, for Christmas, I got Andrew a Swordsoul deck. So we're actually playing the mirror here. So he wins the dice roll, and he elects to go first, which is a weird kind of conundrum when playing a mirror match, because normally, yes, you want to go first, but if your opponent opens all tennies, they can just eat your board, which he's opened a lot of tennies here. He's opened Ashuna and then Vessel, which gets him the full combo, the full tenny combo. So he sends, I believe he sends Adhara and then adds Vishuddha. So he specials the Vishuddha and then goes Ashuna effect to Wormlock himself, but he wants to get the Adhara out of deck. I have a Veiler in my hand, and I'm like, he's already making Chi Zhao, so that tells me that he may not have access to a normal summon, which can put him off a little bit, but he does already have the Moye, so he reveals Sacred Summit, summons a token, and then from here, he can just make Draco Berserker, because he is worm-locked. I have to kind of, make sure he remembers, because this is like the first time he plays the deck. He ended up getting like 3rd place yesterday at Locals with this deck. So he drew, he already had Desires, I believe, but he drew off Moye. Now he's going to draw 2 more cards. And then I think he draws another Desires and then another Ashuna, I thought that I saw. So he Adharas back the other Ashuna and then sets 1. So my hand is decent, but I have no tennies, so I have to like use the Swordsoul cards to bait out everything. So I special Ashuna, normal Moye, and don't declare the effect. What I'm trying to do is bait something without, committing to the board completely. So I go Chainlink 1 Boxia, target Chi Zhao, Chainlink 2 Moye, but he has the Imperm, so he doesn't have to Chi Zhao, which is very unfortunate, because now he has the Chi Zhao for the Moye that I have the Sacred Summit to revive. So he's in a really good position. So I'm just like, okay, maybe if I crash the Boxia into the Chi Zhao and then special the Ashuna, which he goes ahead and Draco Berserker banishes, I decide, okay, well, I can just Adhara back the Ashuna, and then I can go special a Vish from the deck. But the unfortunate part is, while he's used all his interruption, like, I can't really do a whole lot for the remainder of my turn, because even though I've, not committed anything yet, he still has a Draco Berserker on the board, and he's got Tennies Engrave with a Monk on the board that I've already gone to battle phase, so I can't clear. So, and I am Worm locked, so I can't make a Barone or anything here. So I have to add Longion, discard Taya, summon the token, and then I have to settle for a Chenying, which normally is really good, but unfortunately, just because of the fact that there's already an established board and there's already a Monk on the board, there's just not a whole lot I can do in this scenario. And Andrew has like 5 cards in hand, and he's, I've exhausted all of my resources, so I'm in a very bad spot. One thing I could have probably done, instead of adding Longion off of Chi Zhao, what I maybe could have or should have done is add Blackout, because then I could have preemptively popped his Monk and his Draco Berserker, so he wouldn't have as much gas, maybe. But I think either way, I was in like a really bad spot. So he continues with his turn. He specials Ecclesia because he has less monsters than I do. And then he specials the Moye. Moye effect to reveal. And from here, I kind of see the writing on the wall because he hasn't normaled. So he can just normal Taya here. And then Taya can go into either Aboxia or he can just go into a Chijiao to add Longyan. And from there, at that point, he can also Taya dump. So he has a lot of things he can do. And I know he just goes Baxia to spin the Chijiao and the Monk. And then he can crash the other Monk. And I'm dealing with, at minimum, a Draco Berserker on 0 cards. So, depending on what the rest of his hand is, I'm just in a very rough spot. But he also has Sacred Summit, which I didn't know. So he just revives the Taya. And actually, I believe this is just game here. So he can't attack again with the Draco Berserker, but he can just punch with everything else. And I think from here, I'm just like, yeah, you got it, dude. I've taken so much, damage. So I just scoop it up, go to game 2. So we shuffle up, we go into game 2. And here I elect to go first, which I don't think was probably the right call. I feel like I should have probably gone second. I opened pretty well. I opened full combo plus Droll. So even if he has like an Imperm, which it turns out he does, I can kind of play through it because I have the Longyan. So I go Ecclesia, special Moye, Moye effect to reveal. It gets met with an Imperm, but I just have the Longyan, so I just discard the Taya. Summon a token. Make Chijiao. We go Chijiao 1, or Chijiao 2, Moye 1, because we want to banish the Blackout to summon a token. It probably would have been a little bit better had I just added the Blackout instead of using the Blackout to make the token, because that would have been a little bit more pressure that he wouldn't have really been able to play around as easily as he is going to be able to play around the Barone and the Chijiao. So we go Barone, Longyan burn for 12, and then we special the Adhara from deck, worm locking ourselves, but this gets our resource loop going so we can extend next turn. But we also have a Taya in our hand, so we can revive the Taya and make another Synchro. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, we're not in a bad spot here. So we can make a Draco Berserker, which can hurt the Tenny line a little bit because it forces them to have 2 Tennys instead of just 1, because we can just banish the first Tenny that they attempt to summon. What I did not know is that Andrew has drawn Droplet, so it's going to be much harder for me to not die to this board. And unfortunately, even with a Droll in my hand, the hand that Andrew particularly has doesn't really care about Droll. So he goes and specials Ecclesia, tributes it to summon a Swordsoul from deck, and he specials a Moye, and he goes Moye effect, reveal emergence. I'm like, okay, maybe I should Chijiao this. Maybe that's probably fine. But instead I decide to Barone because I want to keep the body off the board, but then he just changed Droplet, and I'm like, oh well. I think he sends the Taya and the Moye. So he ends up not getting the token because I Barone negated, and he didn't negate the Barone with Droplet, but then he just normal summons Taya, which is, really strong. So what he does is he just goes into Chijiao, Chainlink 1, Chijiao, Chainlink 2, Taya dump. He can dump whatever he really wants to. I think he sends an Ashuna here, and then he can go add Longyan if he doesn't already have it, which I have Droll, but at this point, if a Swordsoul player resolves Chijiao, then it just doesn't really matter. Like, I Droll him, but at this point, he adds Blackout, and goes long yawn, discard blackout, summon a token, and then he can just, because all my stuff has been dropleted, he can just easily beat over my board with Chi Zhao and Baron, which he elects to summon here. So yeah, I'm in a really rough spot. Even though it looks like Andrew's on very little, I'm in a really rough spot because I don't have a lot of follow-up, especially not with a non-effect monster not on my board. So he burns me for 12 and then goes Barone, target the Barone, my Barone, to pop it, and then he just goes battle phase here and punches over the Draco Berserker because it's dropleted, and then beats over the Chi Zhao. So I take about 2,900 points of damage, something like that. And then I just pass it back to my turn. And I draw Shathana for turn, which is something. I can special, or I have to normal, excuse me. And he elects to Chi Zhao target my shaman, so I basically just have to scoop it up because my out to the board was make monk with the Shathana and then monk punch into something and then Shathana pop to revive and then pop a card, but that doesn't even happen because he just also has the Chi Zhao for my shaman. So I can only, at minimum, pop one card with Shathana, so I can't out the board, so he just wins. So that matchup was recorded on December 31st. Happy New Year, everybody. But now we are in a new format, so hopefully Andrew will stick with it. He ended up getting third yesterday at locals, only losing to me, and I ended up winning. So, you know, I really think it's going to be a good fit for Andrew to play Swordsoul because he knows what he's doing. Considering how badly he just waxed me on it, I hope he does stick with it because he's clearly in the know about what he's doing. So yeah, I hope he continues to play it throughout the year and moving forward. But at any rate, it's me, it's that DMD, and your boy is out.
Didn't even get to cross.